founded the American School of Naturopathy in 1896. And basically up until I think the 40s, we had, I think, like 30 states or something licensed, like a ridiculous amount. And then unfortunately he died in the 40s, and in the 50s we started going downhill and got down to like 6 states or so. And I really believe, we haven't really talked about it in books and stuff, but looking back, I really think the problem was that he was such a like gung-ho kind of guy and very controversial and very leading the pack kind of person. And when he died, we lost all the momentum because we didn't have a grassroots structure or campaign to keep it going. So that's why Grassroots is so important. I'm really glad you guys are here today to learn about it. And I think that's what's missing in naturopathic medicine, and what's something we can use and hopefully grow even further. And it'll grow from there. We don't have to do that much once we get started. So, all right.
Okay, so I first became interested in Grassroots. I kept hearing the term like getting thrown around, but like I was like, what the hell is it? Like, what is Grassroots? What does it mean? What does it look like? Especially during Obama's campaign, which is interesting, the momentum that was gained, and a lot of the credit was given to, well, from what people said, was given to the grassroots effort of just ordinary people who all had a similar interest and cause coming together. And someone explained to me like how you do that. So I reached out. I don't know if you guys know Francisco. Some of you might not. He actually just graduated in this past term. And before he decided to come to naturopathic medical school, he used to be involved in like lobbying and stuff like that. So he helped to facilitate our core group, which I'll explain what that is later, to come together and educate us about what Grassroots is and how to do that and how we could all implement that into our own personal projects that we had. So I'm condensing down to, it was like a 2-3 month long project into a session. So believe me, if you have any questions or anything after this is done, I will be happy to answer them. We are all a whole bunch of lone nuts who are trying to definitely get naturopathic medicine recognized, licensed, whatever it is that your personal goal might be, and enact embodies that. Even with our slogan, the step-by-step, person-by-person, state-by-state, is very grassroots. So Grassroots, as far as the definition, is a movement aiming to make views of ordinary people heard and felt in the decision-making process. So the first thing that was impressive upon me with Grassroots was just, you have an idea, you have a vision, you take that vision and you figure out how to implement it. So that's like the definition of what, with getting like your core group of people together, just ordinary people trying to make a difference, however big or small you want that to be. And then what this means is that Grassroots is more of an attitude than anything else that allows for freedom, creativity, unrestrained political enthusiasm, of willingness to band together of ordinary people. So like I hear people say all the time that I'm not a leader, or what difference is one person going to make, and to me that's why Grassroots is so important and is so empowering for so many people, because like he said in the TED video, it's not necessarily about the leader having to be a leadership skill, it's about finding people who follow you or want to be a part of your cause to create a movement, which is the real definition of Grassroots. So as far as the steps, so I was going to use the example of like the core group that I worked with. Personally, all of us were, besides one person, were on the board for an ACT. And so an ACT is mainly focused towards trying to increase public awareness of naturopathic medicine, of course, as a way of hopefully getting naturopathic medicine licensed or having better licensure in the states that are already licensed, helping to facilitate those processes. So we got a group of 3 or 4 students together, and this was our core group of people that met on a bi-weekly basis or monthly basis. But we had homework assignments in between, so so the core group needs to come up with a vision, this vision needs to be clear and concise. And I will tell you that when our core group first got together, we individually came up with our own visions, which I hope they don't mind. I'll put examples of those up. But then we all sat down several times together and tried to hone in what exactly it was that we were trying to say through our vision. Some people were really wordy and some people were really concise, but it just needs to be, discussed, because this is what you need to come back to and your basis, so that you are more organized and going in the same directions versus being all over the place with your vision. So these were some of the examples. So they were as simple as to improve the involvement of students, faculty, and ND professionals in increasing awareness in naturopathic medicine. And so I don't know if you remember more from this, I don't know if you're at that discussion, but Francisco, when he met with us, he tore apart all of our visions, because he was like, so what is it exactly like? You need to explain to me exactly what it is that you're trying to say through this vision. So the first one, which was mine, was probably a little bit too concise. And then another person in the group had both a long and a short-term vision. So the long-term vision was to have full-scope licensure of naturopathic medicine in all 50 states with ever-increasing standards of care and well-organized and nationwide grassroots foundation. And so that was the big picture. And then short-term, she felt that a strong, informed, and motivated SCM student body who have methodically spread the knowledge of naturopathic medicine, its merits and legislative needs, to an even stronger organized grassroots network of people in Arizona who support naturopathic medicine and are willing to do what it takes to keep licensure. So this was a good one, and because as Francisco pointed out, it kind of said who you're trying to get involved, how you're trying to get them involved, what was that vision. She had a short and a long-term vision for it, and then she kind of embodied in this how she planned to spread that just from the SEM body to where our goal is to have it encompass more community efforts, as far as and how by doing this in a step-by-step way, it would come to her long-term goal, or our long-term goal of having naturopathic medicine licensed in all 50 states. So then along with this, you have to have your mission and a name. I don't think we ever came up with a name, but we did put missions, a couple of us came up with missions that would match our vision. And the mission is a part of you implementing that vision. And this also needs to be agreed upon with the group. And this stuff, like the step-by-step, like this is definitely a very general overview of what grassroots efforts is. The step-by-step process, if any of you guys have like a project that you're wanting to sit down with more, like I'll be happy to help facilitate that, but it take a little bit more facilitation with the vision and the mission, and like a little bit more of a thorough time thought out process. So these are some sample mission statements. One was to discover the individual motivating factors of each student at CNM, and thus organize many active supporters of naturopathic licensure who regularly donate their time, money, and talents to organize others to continue the effort of creating a solid grassroots foundation. So this one was going along with the vision that we saw. We're trying to get licensed in 50 states, and we're wanting to have student and community support to do that. That's the vision. So the mission is to motivate these people either through their time, their financial support, or they may have talents that they can donate to your vision in order to make that vision happen. And then the other one, another example is to initiate grassroots efforts that will motivate students, faculty, and ND professionals to commemorate the core values of naturopathic medicine. This one was another one that was a little bit shorter, it's vague, so it's like, well, how do you, one thing that Francisco was asking us is how do you, like what does that look like? How do you get them, like we know the core values, but if you're taking this into the community, how are you impressing upon the community that through your core values, naturopathic medicine needs to be licensed in 50 states. So I'm just trying to help you guys see like the thought process that goes on along with matching your mission statement to your vision. Okay, so then you have to of course have goals. So what exactly is it you're trying to accomplish? You have to have objectives for your goals, and then you need to have a strategy, which defines, so you need to define your planners. So anybody who's a part of your movement, you kind of need to define like what are the needs of your movement, and then what exactly are you going to be looking for when you're seeking out people to support your cause. And then among these people who are a part of your movement, you need to have somewhat of a consensus. So the thought, somebody brought up, they said that the latest grassroots movement that they've seen that could have potentially been good was the Occupy. When everybody started occupying everything. And it was like, in theory, the vision that these people had was really good. Like, it's something that needed to be talked about, something that needed to be done. But when everybody was like, what do they want? What is the, they interviewed people, if they interviewed 100 people, you got 100 different reasons for why people were occupying whatever it was that they were occupying. So there was not a consensus. So if they had had more of a clear-cut consensus among the people who were involved in that movement, it probably could have went a whole lot better than what it actually did. But the vision was good. Okay, so this is just an example of a goal that we had, that we would like to start building relationships and mobilizing students first, then faculty, then professionals to create more camaraderie. I'd like to see more cohesiveness between students, student organizations, teachers, and ND professionals. I would like for students to understand that they can support the cause of increasing awareness about naturopathic medicine in several different ways. So this was just some goals that were loosely presented in group. Okay, so the implementation has several phases, and this is the part where you really have to be flexible, because you have your vision and you're like so excited, like I'm going to do this, and just because I go to SCNM and everybody here is ND students, they're going to support my cause. Not going to happen. So this is where you have to be flexible, and you have to really, and this is the part that takes time, and really to really get a good grassroots movement going. Francisco was saying it takes about a year to a year and a half to get a really solid vision core and get good momentum going with your vision. So each person within your core group needs to find about 10 to 12 people, and you're looking for doers and your core advocates. And then each person is given a task, which I'll talk about this part a little bit further. So when you go out and find your 10 to 12 people, you're going to make a list of everybody that you know, and then you're going to start interviewing people. And your goal when you're interviewing people is you're trying to find resources and skills within the people. And it could be, and you might find resources and skills that you didn't think you needed, but then as you talk to people, you realize that, oh yeah, I could use you for this, and if you're willing to donate your time or different things like that just in conversation. These interviews with people ideally need to be one-on-one. So like you're sitting down with that person, really get to know them. You're asking them about their family, you're asking about their, not in a freaky way, not like with a piece of paper, like you're genuinely want to sit down and get to know everybody who could potentially be a part of your movement. Maybe even their political views, their religious, their, what is it called, religious affiliation. You could, like how they volunteer their time now, like things that they're passionate about. You want to find out these things about everybody who's going to be a part of your group. And you want to just talk to them back and forth, hear their story, get to know their skills, ask about things that concern them, like things that genuinely they are concerned about, whether it has to do with, you don't want to facilitate and I'm just using SCNM and licensure as an example. You don't want to know just within this, but in general, what concerns them in life. And then you want to point blank ask them if they're willing to help. If they're willing to help your cause and how they would feel comfortable with getting involved with your vision and your cause. Like you have to directly ask them that. And then as you talk to people...
Can I add to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say too that also you want to find out what motivates them, because that you can use to your advantage. To be like, oh, you're really motivated by communicating with people and connecting one-on-one. Okay, it would be great to go out and talk, or you're motivated by some religious thing, but it ties into whatever you're working on. So you really want to almost ask open-ended questions, just let them talk and see how you can use that to your advantage.
Yeah, it's just like a prime example is within an act. We have our public awareness share. Now, what does public awareness look like? It could look like a lot of things. Well, it just so happened that one of our chairs was more comfortable with having meals, just like he was talking to you about earlier. So we've taken, that's his comfort zone. He's done it at a smaller capacity or a larger capacity on his own, and now he's implementing that into an act, but it's still serving an act's vision of increasing public awareness. So that's a prime example of finding getting to know, we hadn't sat down and got to know what his or Lily's interests were, then we're just like, okay, you're going to do this, this, and this, and they're like, okay, it'll probably never get done. But now they're implementing stuff that they're actually interested in doing. So as you talk to people, you're going to rate them on a scale, and this is an example. Yours does not have to look like this, but this is just an example of how you could rate people. So you might have somebody who's not interested. You might have somebody who's a little interested, but So you probably wouldn't put them at the head of a committee. You would have them, like, if you needed somebody to make phone calls and different things like that, you would call them and be like, hey, you willing to make, like, call 5 people for me today or something like that. Somebody who's interested, they may be willing to actually attend meetings, they may donate. Somebody who's very interested, they may be on every committee that you have, like the gala and the run or whatever. That might be your 4. And then somebody who's a 5, then they would enter into probably another position of leadership. So with that being said, our core group has kind of broken off. Like we started off with 3 or 4 people. We were all pretty much 5s, but then what we wanted to do, so our core group has a lot of subgroups that we still have the common goal of wanting to increase awareness of naturopathic medicine, but our goals look a little bit differently for what we all want to do. So we're all 5s have broken off and started our own rating systems of our subgroups. And then you're going to want to, after you've gotten your 10 people and you've rated them, you're going to kind of lump them into, we're just talking about like this person may be good for this person may be good for that, according to what your goals and your tasks are that you've already outlined. And then you're going to do SWOT. I know some business people, I never heard of it, some business people may have heard of SWOT before, but the strength and weaknesses are what's internal. So the strength is what gives your core group or the group of people that you have now, what gives you guys an advantage, and then what may be a disadvantage to your group. And I'll give an example of this later from what I've done so far. And then the opportunity and threats is more of an external picture. So opportunity may be like, what are the chances out in the community that you have to network or to gain recognition? Like if something, you have a lot of people in your group who are involved in media, that's an opportunity for your group. And then what may be threats, like what could cause trouble for your movement. You're going to evaluate this and of course make adjustments, and it's going to take continual adaptation. So this is my example. So I broke off, and at the time I was interested in going back to Georgia to practice. I still am a little bit. I have a lot of places on my list. So when I broke off, I found my 3 or 4 core people who were actually 2 doctors and 1 other student that were interested in also seeing Georgia get it licensed, because I would like to ideally practice in a licensed state. So I came up with my vision, my mission statement. The list of 10 people actually consisted of, for us, already practicing doctors, was a mixture of already practicing doctors in the state of Georgia and students here that were interested in going back to Georgia to practice. And we talked to people one-on-one, created like an interview process, one of the doctors did, for the doctors there, and I interviewed some people here. And then we started having monthly meetings. And then from this, we did a SWOT. And so some of the strengths that we had was that we had a bunch of leaders within our group. We actually had members, like people who wanted to be a part of the Georgia, like GAMP. We got it up and going. That was a strength. And we all, for the most part, had a unified vision of wanting Georgia to be licensed. But there was a weakness that we had, was that among some of the docs who were already there, who have been practicing for like 10 years successfully without a license, they weren't sure if they wanted licensure. So we had to come up with ways to deal with that. And then we had opportunities such as there was a Cancer Treatment Center of America, which I believe is now open, that was going to be hiring an ND to be lead on other NDs that we'll be working on. So, and we already know that, whether some of us agree with how they do it or not, Cancer Treatment Center of America is at least open to having NDs practice. And so that's a good thing. And then we had, within our group, we had quite a few political connections. And then some of the threats that we had was the traditional NDs in Georgia are strong, like especially when Clayton College was open. Anytime naturopathic doctors try to do anything, because Georgia's tried to get licensed 2 times before, they would come together, they have more people, more money, and they would just shut it down. And then, you know, you have hundreds of traditional naturopaths versus 17 practicing actual NDs who are graduated from accredited schools. So that was something that could potentially be a threat to our organization. Okay, so now we're going to do a group exercise, because I'm assuming that you guys are here because you're interested in Grassroots. So I want to give you some time. We probably will take like 5 minutes maybe. want you, like, any goals that you have as far as like anything that you're thinking of, I want you to go ahead and write those goals or type on your computer, however you want to do it. If you guys want to get, if you want to get into groups and do it, I don't know. If I might want to go over your personal goals first. So let's just do your goals, and then we'll take a little bit more time and maybe try to come up with a vision statement, and then we'll share those and kind of talk about them.
One of the things that I wanted to do is instill naturopathic medicine into like the mainstream media, whether it be like a internet radio show or a TV show just highlighting like medical topics, kind of like the doctors, but like better.
But real right.
or just do spin off of that, just even have like a college radio show where you have like interviews of doctors, a little bit of music, you know, just fun stuff like that, so that people can just like spread awareness and people can listen, you know, multitasking.
That's hot.
Okay.
That's hot.
So then do you have, so then
Should
do
do
you
that.
have in mind like how you would like to do that? Like, do you plan on, so some things that you might think about with that is, do you want to use students for that?
Yeah, like the first thing I want to do would be the radio show for the schools, basically. And I would probably use students for that because there's a lot of students here that are already pretty good with the media, things like that. And that's not that hard. And then, yeah, it's pretty much free to do something like that. Otherwise, if there is a little bit of funding, then just go and find funding. That's as far as I've got.
That's a good start. So you have your goal, and then you have your vision of what it looks like for you to attain that goal. And then as you talk to your 10 people, you'll want to find people who maybe could get you money to fund it. Maybe somebody who could help build your website. And then we're talking people who will volunteer their time. You're not going to pay people to do these things. People who are comfortable speaking in public, whether it's like being recorded or not being recorded, or like being recorded by video or just having their voice. People hate their voice.
Yeah.
But you know, you have to overcome it to do whatever. Anybody else have a vision that they want to share? I know you're itching to do it.
I would like to expand these dinners, but I thought of something else that would be really fantastic is to change the caterer or preparations in public school cafeterias. Wouldn't know how to do that at all, but it's an idea. Find 10 people that know how to do it.
We actually already started kind of trying to do it, so I can talk to you about it.
And that brings up another good point as far as when you are finding your 10 people. I feel like you have to, and then your 10 people, like somebody probably break off and like get their 10 people, because remember you're teaching people, you're following these people as much as you're leading them, so you're teaching them to follow. And so you might, as far as your goal, you might want to find people to put on your research team, like somebody who likes to dig around the internet and find stuff and can help you, to educate you about how exactly that has been done or could be done. So that could be another layer of your team when you're finding your core people, your exploratory group. Anybody else have a goal or vision that they would like to share?
I was thinking about the idea of revamping the way that health is taught in the schools. I know my health education was pretty limited in public schools, so I don't know, somehow getting to that federal level and getting them to change the way that it's done.
And would you want to do that in like elementary, middle, or high school, or like do you know specifically what level you want to start with and then grow from there, or?
Well, I was thinking starting with the younger kids, elementary and middle primarily, because if you can kind of catch it earlier, you can be a lot more preventative. And also introducing the idea of ending,
So when you're finding your people, you want to, so you want to already have, so your next step would probably be to, once you have your goal and your vision, would be organizing in your mind what it is that you need and what that looks like. So for you, you're going to need to decide like exactly what level of school that you want to get involved with, what area of town you'd want to do that. Are you trying to do more inner city schools? Are you trying to do more schools in suburbia? How, like, what the process would be like to get into those schools. So then what you're finding, you should already kind of have an idea of that, which it will change as you progress. But so that as you find your 10 people, because if you go out, this brings up another good point. If you go out and you're trying to find these 10 people to help you, and they're like, what exactly? You're asking them, can you help me? Their next question is going to be, well, what do you need me to do? And if you have no idea what that is, you're going to lose people. So you first have to make sure that you have a clear, that's why the vision has to be clear and concise, and that as you bring people in, you know, like as you're talking to them and you're getting to know them with your one-on-one interviews, you know exactly where it is that you could potentially use them. So you want people who are comfortable working with children. If you're going to be working with elementary school, you might even, maybe you would open up your search to actual teachers, like teachers who, instead of just like if you're going outside the naturopathic community, who work with children, and then you could implement it that way into the school system because they're already comfortable. They already have a shoe in as far as working with children.
Yeah, like maybe like doctors in the school day, so every naturopath.
Right.
Something small.
Right. Yeah, it can be in steps. I think with Obama's campaign, I think it started door to door initially when they were talking about their grassroots. So you have people going door to door talking about what it was that he wanted to do to create change, and then that expanded onto more of the online thing. So it's like there was but they had all that, I'm sure, figured out ahead of time that they would get so much support this way and then expand it to this way. To being online, you have to reach more people and then go from there. So that's where the flexibility comes in. And being able to, and your vision can change. There's not, if you have this vision, like it could become bigger. You might decide it was too big and you need to bring it down a little bit to make it feel a little bit more attainable. All that's fine, but that's the reason why you want to make sure you work on that first before you start trying to bring people into it. So, well, your goal is more so, if I understand your question correctly, what you want it to look like, what you want it to look like. So you want licensure in 50 states. Well, how do you plan to get licensure in 50 states? Well, there's a variety of ways you can do it, but what's comfortable for you? Are you going to motivate students to reach out to the community and do it that way? That's your vision. You see what I'm saying? And then your plan spins off from your vision. Your mission is, she's asking in between like the vision, like what happens in the nation.
When Francisco presented it, he had it like an upside down triangle almost, so like your vision is much more broad, then your mission kind of pares it down a little bit more, and then when you get to your actual goals, that's like more tailored, and then when you get to your tasks and your people that you need work on, that's even more specific. So you kind of start broad, I mean within like natural medicine or whatever you want to do, and then kind of like get more specific each time you go down a step.
So it might feel like as you're doing it, you're repeating a little bit. Like they might cross, but they're supposed to cross because they're related to each other. So it's just another way. I didn't like doing the mission statement. I'll say that right now because I was like, I feel like I felt like I was saying the same thing over and over again. I'm the type of person that hates doing that. But at the end of the day, once I started working with other people, I realized why I needed that. Like you needed the broad picture, and then you needed. The mission of how you plan to attain that broad picture, then your goals that you plan to be your outcome from attaining that broad picture, and then the tasks that you plan to implement to achieve your goals in lieu of attaining your vision. so that yeah, they're all related.
I think it was good we did that, because also, I mean, it wasn't really like pain in the butt to do it, but when you kind of realize that our core group can't be our core group because our mission is all different, and our vision is similar, but it's not. Francisco recognized like it's not similar, the same, and it won't be compatible. But we've all like broken off, like Danielle said, done pretty awesome stuff. So it worked.
Yeah. And that's a good example too of like our core group because we all want licensure. That was like all of our vision. But I wanted licensure in Georgia, so my mission was pertaining more to facilitating students here that are interested in going back to Georgia. versus she wanted to be president of an ACT. So her mission was more to,
You did.
so everything that she did was filtered toward performing a certain way within an ACT and facilitating people.
I think the med school mixer was when I started with that.
You're right. Yeah, but you were still, even as you were the president, everything that she did as far as the med school mixer, or even after that, even as VP, like she took on tasks that most people would not take on as a VP, because she knew that she wanted to become president in order to facilitate through an ACT. She was using an ACT as more her avenue. I don't know if that's on the board, like, I don't know, you know, but does that answer your question then? So we all kind of rolled off. Erin was another part of the group. She is more interested in midwifery, and so her way of facilitating and motivating people went more that route. That she is more involved in midwifery